absolutely incredible. Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi must think all Americans are stupid. Would someone please just tell her about Google? She just got caught.
This bill was written in a tortured way to make sure CBO did not score the mandate as taxes. If CBO scored the mandate as taxes, the bill dies.
He didn't help write our bill.
Call it the stupidity of the American voter or whatever.
I don't know who he is.
I don't know if you have seen Jonathan Gruber of MIT's analysis.
He made explicit the health people pay and sick people get money. It would not have passed.
Let's put him aside.
And Representative Steve Scalise joins us. Good evening, sir. Welcome back to Washington. And Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi says she doesn't know Jonathan Gruber, but she must not know we have Google and YouTube and everything else, because she's talking about on C-SPAN in November 2009 when she's talking about his MIT analysis of the bill.
Well, Greta, it's all catching up with her. You know, she said you got to read the bill to find out what's in it. The problem for her is that people have read it, they found out what's in it, and they don't like it. And now you see Jonathan Gruber coming out and admitting they had to use deception to pass the bill, and they're relying on the American people not paying attention and not holding them accountable, unfortunately, as they saw with the election results. Well, the public's fed up.
Besides the substance of the bill, and I want to make sure we have a good, smart bill, whatever it is. I'm appalled at the fact that, all this sort of sneaking around and saying the American people are stupid. Then you've got now she's running away from him, and 3 years ago she's bragging on him on C-SPAN, and she thinks that we're so stupid that we don't immediately get on the computer and Google all this.
Well, the president ultimately is going to be held accountable for this. But this is the kind of deception that they used from the very beginning. They counted on the American people not paying close attention. They made all these promises, if you like. What you have, you can keep it. It's going to reduce your health care. But they also went through the process in a way. The president promised it would all be on C-SPAN. It would all be transparent. And, of course, it wasn't. And now the chickens are coming home to roost.
All right. So now you're in leadership in the Republican Party in the House. What are you going to do about it at all? Are you going to is there anything to be done? Or are you even going to inquire, call Gruber up before a committee and ask him, who are you talking to? What do you know? Who else thinks the American people are stupid? How much deception was there?
Well, as you can see, over the last 2 years, we've been holding this administration very accountable through all kinds of hearings with the website, from the failure of the website all the way through the other broken promises. Clearly, with this new revelation, we're going to be using this in the oversight that we're going to do in a robust way in the House. And then with a new Republican Senate, you're going to have even more opportunities to bring these people in before committees where they're going to have to answer the American people on C-SPAN in a transparent way. Even though they didn't do it when they passed the bill, they're going to be held accountable in public view this time.
What do you think Leader Pelosi really thinks? I mean, I know she thinks she doesn't know him tonight and says that she doesn't know who Jonathan Gruber is, essentially, which is just frankly not true. But what do you think she's thinking tonight about all this?
Well, I think she and Barack Obama have had this facade for the last few years that the media is just going to cover for them. Then all this stuff's never going to come out, even though it's all out there on tape. The problem is you've got people like Greta, Fox News holding them accountable. The public is fed up with them, and you're seeing the mainstream media turn on them as well.
But we've already had an election. I mean, there's no sort of political consequences, really. I mean, it's all. I mean, the American people have had their chance to vote 2 weeks ago. It's now the members of Congress, House, Senate, Republican, Democrats to do the right thing, whatever that may be.
Right, and there's action we're going to be taking in the months and 2 years ahead to continue to address these problems, to go and try to repeal and replace this law with actual reforms at a lower cost and put patients in charge. But, Greta, at the end of the day, this is, I think, going to be the top issue in the 2016 presidential race.
Congressman, nice to see you. Welcome home to Washington. Thank you.
Great to be back, Greta.
Well, you've heard Professor Jonathan Gruber, the ObamaCare architects, say lack of transparency and stupidity of the voters got Obamacare passed, and that is not all that Jonathan Gruber said. So can the Obama administration and Democratic leaders really talk their way out of this one?
Lack of transparency is a huge political advantage.
I don't know who he is. He didn't help write our bill.
This bill was written in a tortured way to make sure CBO did not score the mandate as taxes. If CBO scored the mandate as taxes, the bill dies.
There was a steadfast commitment by this administration to make sure that people had good insight into the benefits of the law.
You can make it all transparent, but I'd rather have this law than not.
It's actually Republicans who haven't been particularly transparent or even honest.
And joining us on political panel, ABC News political director Rick Klein, U.S. News and World Report's David Cantonese, and the Weekly Standard's John McCormick. Rick, is this a problem, this Gruber thing?
It's a massive problem. It undermines Democrats in trying to make what affirmative campaign they can around the Obamacare healthcare law about the process, about the fact that they'd like to be able to talk about it in terms of the benefits that it brings. But once again, we're back to the genesis. And the genesis was messy. The genesis was ugly. And they're again trying to play defense around this. I think it undermines efforts to defend the law. It also severely undercuts any efforts they have to try to strengthen and improve it, because this is just going to fuel the other side in terms of trying to fight for repeal, whether piecemeal or wholesale. These kind of comments just plain don't help.
You know, David, I say every night, I really want everyone to have access to medical care. This really matters to me, which probably is why I'm so enraged at this. But I actually feel this whole business about transparency. You even have Josh Ernst saying today, the White House press secretary, President Obama is proud of the transparency process that was undertaken to pass that bill into law. Well, nobody read it. You can't call that transparency. Speaker Pelosi, or Leader Pelosi, didn't know what was in it until after it was passed. So you can't say she had transparency, although I hold her accountable for that. And then, you've got Democrats complaining about the medical device tax. Well, if they had read the thing in the beginning, they'd know it was in there from the very beginning. So obviously they didn't have transparency because they didn't know what was in it.
Look, they are completely dug in, the Democrats, and Leader Pelosi is completely dug in. And there's going to be no accountability for her, frankly, because she's a gerrymandered Democrat in a liberal district. She's going to be there for as long as she wants. She's going to be the House minority leader probably for as long as she wants, because no one's challenging her on that side. This may say something about the leadership of the Democratic Party right now, but can you imagine if Republicans didn't win the Senate last week or lost seats? You'd have challenges to leadership. You see no challenges to leadership. You saw two Senate Democrats peel away from Harry Reid today, but you don't even see anyone. They're indebted. Democrats are indebted to Leader Pelosi for her fundraising abilities on the coast. And she is going to defend the health care law until she leaves, no matter what new facts emerge. I just don't think, for her to stand there today and say she never heard of the guy was pretty amazing, given that she was citing him in press conferences.
And of course, I'm deeply offended. She thinks we're so stupid that we don't have Google and YouTube and everything else.
Not only did she say she didn't know the guy, she said that he didn't help write the law. Go look up the New York Times from 2 years ago, and it says that, quote unquote, he helped draft the specifics of the legislation on Congress. He went down there. Does anyone want to bet that Jonathan Gruber has a better idea of what's in Obamacare than Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, Obama himself? I don't think any of those people read this law.
Is there anything to be gained by having a hearing, calling Gruber up there and saying, who are you talking to as you were trying to hide behind lack of transparency to push this off this on the American people?
I think so. I think it highlights all of the lies. The whole point, he talks about the stupidity of the American voter. I think it would be more accurate to say the stupidity of the American politician who thought that they could tell these lies and pass a bill. And
they did.
They did, but then they got massacred in 2010 after the bill passed. They got a pass in 2012, but after implementation in 2014, they got hammered again. So all these lies on making, you can keep your doctor if you like your doctor, keep your health care plan, lower premiums. I think all that stuff, you can bring it back.
Would you call him to testify?
Yeah, and I think it's going to happen. And I think it also has a live implication beyond even the PR of testimony. There's a Supreme Court challenge that's there. And actually, Jonathan Gruber's comments are part of that. And what he said was the legislative intent. So it is still going to play out.
Panel, thank you. Always nice to see you.